So I thought this day would never come. I am selling my SBDC 061 from Seiko. And there's one major reason for that. It is the Citizen ProMaster Dive Automatic in Super Titanium. This watch, since I received it from Citizen, has been one of the best dive watches, one of the best affordable dive watches that I have experienced. And unfortunately, my SBDC 061 has gotten no wrist time since it arrived. That watch was lent into the channel, so I will be selling my SBDC 061 to make room for the Citizen. So let's flip the camera and take a look at the Citizen. We're gonna do sort of a deep dive or a long-term review on the watch, its wearability, and my thoughts overall on why I have chosen it over the Seiko. Well, here it is. This is the watch that I am going to be purchasing to replace my SBDC 061, the watch that you could see lurking in the background right there. This was lent into the channel. The Citizen was lent into the channel by Citizen, and I do have to return it to them, but I think I'm going to end up buying one very soon because I really will miss this watch and I want to have one in my collection. This is the Citizen ProMaster Dive Automatic in Super Titanium. Super Titanium just means that it is made out of titanium with a super hard coating, and it's actually worked very well. I've been wearing this over the past few months on and off, and I haven't really gotten any scratches on the watch. Now, this is the blue dial variant, so you get a blue dial and a blue bezel applied indices. The bezel has silver indices on it, and then you have a little silver triangle there with a pip. That pip is lumed. The indices are also filled with lume. You have sort of a satin dial on here. It's not glossy, but it's not matte, so it's sort of a satin finish. And then of course you have a Mercedes hand for the hour hand that is skeletonized. That is filled with lume. A little bit controversial. Not everybody likes that hour hand. Then you have a fence post minute hand, also filled with lume, and then a lollipop second hand with lume in that lollipop. You have a beveled sapphire crystal on this watch, which I absolutely love. It's one of the reasons why I like this watch so much. It really gives it some character. It's something about it that I really like. It doesn't really distort anything. It just looks very, very good. This is 40 millimeters. So it's 40 millimeters at the case. It's about 40.6 millimeters at the bezel. So almost 41 millimeters. You have a 5.3 millimeter crown, which is pretty small, but it is signed with the ProMaster logo. And then you have a 12.1 millimeter thickness. The lug to lug on here goes up to around 53 millimeters, including those male end links. It's about 58 and change at the actual lugs. You do not get drilled lugs on here. I do wish it did have drilled lugs, but on a titanium watch, you probably don't want to do that anyway because you might end up scratching the watch. But it does have that extra hard coating. I'm not sure if it would actually protect against that. Screwed in crown, screwed in case back, 200 meters of water resistance. It's ISO certified, so it's a pretty legitimate dive watch. You have a oyster style bracelet on here that actually has polishing for grade 2 titanium. As you can see, it's on the inside of each one of the links. It looks really good. And then you have a polished bezel and a little polished edge on the crown. That's all the polishing on this watch, so not a lot of polishing, not very flashy whatsoever. The buckle is I love the buckle on Citizen watches, but specifically this watch, I think it's so much better than what you get from Seiko, and that's one of the other reasons why I like this watch better. You have micro adjust that's on the fly. It's really the diver's extension, but if you just pull it out a little bit, you can see that you get a little bit of micro adjust, and you can pull it all the way out, obviously, and then you have a diver's extension, which is great. But if you pull it out just a little bit, you could use it as a micro adjust. And then you also have half links, which you don't get on the Seiko. Flip this open and it's all milled. Part of this is probably pressed just like the Seiko, but you can see, really nice. Very, very nice, very well done. I like the design of this buckle. The 40 millimeters also makes it very wearable, and the titanium makes it very wearable. But there's the one thing that I've never gotten over on my Seiko, and I bring this up every time I talk about that Seiko. It is the misalignments. And this watch, I have been blessed with 3 misalignments. So the dial, the 12 o'clock index, does not line up with the chapter ring or the actual pip in the bezel, that little triangle. So basically all 3 do not line up. It's terrible. And it's weird. At one time when I owned this watch, I told myself it doesn't really matter. And now every time I look at it, it's the only thing I see. I immediately remember that there's a misalignment on this watch. And it's sad. It really is sad. Also, I find it a little bit less comfortable than I used to. My wrist has changed. I've gained a little bit of weight, unfortunately, and it does not feel as comfortable as it used to be. It's still pretty comfortable, but it's not as comfortable as the Citizen. Also, it's pretty heavy. That could be one of the reasons why it is a little bit less comfortable. And I've grown to really appreciate titanium watches like this watch. And that's kind of the reason why I've decided to switch over to the Citizen. I still love the Seiko, but I want to sell something to buy something, so that's why I'm going to go with the Citizen and buy it. I really do like the Seiko still. It's about a 44 millimeter case, so at the case it's about 44 millimeters. It's like 43.5, somewhere around there, but it's almost the same size as the Citizen at the bezel, so 40.9, so it's about 41 millimeters. But it is thicker at 13 millimeters, and then you also have a larger lug to lug on the actual case itself, 49.5. You do get drilled lugs though on here, which is nice. You get a horrible diver's extension on this watch. I've done a comparison of the two watches. Really, this video is more about the Citizen and why I have chosen the Citizen over the Seiko. And those are really my reasons why. I really like the titanium. I really like its wearability, the feel on the wrist. And also when I look at it, I don't see any misalignments. There are no misalignments on this watch whatsoever. It lines up perfectly. And I don't know, for $1,000 watch, I think that makes a lot of sense. This is under $1,000. This is around $1,200, I think, somewhere in that neighborhood. So pretty expensive for a watch that has a misalignment, and a pretty bad misalignment. QC issues abound on that. I am not happy about that. But, you know, 9000 series of Miyota movement in here. So it's basically a 9015 because you do have the date there with that little surround around it. It's a thinner movement, much thinner than the 6R movement. And that's the reason why you have a thinner case at 12 millimeters thick. So pretty cool. I really like it. I'm going to throw it on my wrist so you can see what I'm talking about. And then I'm going to do a quick lume shot just to compare the two watches. But here it is on my 7.5 inch wrist. You can see it's a 40 millimeter watch. It wears like a 40 millimeter watch. No bigger, no smaller. It's a great travel watch because, like I said, when you expand, you could actually use that little diver's extension as sort of a micro adjust if you want to. Plus you have half links, so you can get a pretty good fit on your wrist. That's why I find this watch so comfortable. Not that I find the SBDC 061 uncomfortable, I just don't find it as comfortable as the Citizen. So here is the Seiko on my 7.5 inch wrist, and you can see there's a lot more wrist presence from this watch. It's bigger. It doesn't wear much bigger, but it definitely wears bigger. It wears like a 42 millimeter watch, not a 40 millimeter watch, and it is a 43.5 millimeter watch. But visually, it looks a little bit smaller because of the bezel and how they actually designed the case. It really is a great case on this watch. This would probably be great on a strap, but I don't know. I don't see the point of wearing this watch on a strap. It's just, it doesn't make that much sense. They call this the Baby Marine Master. I don't know. Maybe it's the Marine Master that I want and not the Baby Marine Master. Maybe eventually I'll do that. But I think this is going to go. I've actually put this up for sale already once and it didn't sell. I'll be putting it up for sale again in the very near future. So, to fund this watch. Anyway, very quickly, let's do a lume shot and then wrap up the video. Well, there you go. You can see the Seiko is a little bit brighter than the Citizen. The Citizen can use a little bit more lume, but it is liberally applied with lume. It's not far behind the Seiko. The Seiko is bright though. You can see lume bright, always really good. They've always done a good job with lume. There you go. I've made the decision. I think I'm going to stick with it. I really do love this Citizen, and I do find it very comfortable, and I like wearing it. So I don't wear this as much anymore. The SBDC 061 used to be a go-to watch for me. It has become something of a watch that is sitting on the shelf, and when that happens, it's time to sell. So that's what I'm doing. Anyway, guys, tell me what you think in the comments down below. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of both of these watches? What do you think of the Citizen? What do you think of the Seiko SBDC061? What do you think of the problems that I've had with the SBDC061, specifically the QC issues? Tell me down below. Do you own a Seiko with a QC issue? I hear more often than not, people have issues with their Seikos. I've owned many Seikos, and I would say a majority have had issues. If I've owned 15 or 20 Seiko divers in my day, I would say about 9 or 10 out of those 15 have had alignment issues. That is not a good track record, and all different price ranges as well. So tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Please follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is WatchChrisBlog, all one word. I have some links in the description. Those links are to Amazon. If you click those links and buy anything, it helps support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. However, I very much appreciate it. Anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next video.